So right now I'm coloring with the burnt orange Inktense pencil, and I'm trying to just lightly color it with putting darker coloring towards tight areas such as at the bottom, and if I come up here to this little area it should be a little darker, and then leave everything else lighter as you color, because you can always go back in and fix that. Okay, so I just wanted to kind of give you a rough, quick video on what this is looking like as I go forward coloring. These have been a combination of both the watercolors and the Inktense pencils, which I will have outlined in the instructions. Okay, another quick video. I just wanted to point out about what I've done on his eyebrows. I've actually used 3 different watercolors for his eyebrows, and I want to point those out real quick. I used color number 250, which is gold, which is this area all right in here. Then I started outlining that with color number 183, and that's a lot of this area all across the top and kind of down here. And then to give that those corners even deeper coloring, I came in with color number 187, and I'm just kind of coloring in here down in the corners to give it an even deeper color, which is kind of getting along the lines of being a bit more realistic. But as you can see, in coloring him, he's different shades already, and what we'll do here in the next video, once I finish coloring all this, is showing you how you blend these colors together to make it look like the fox the way he currently looks. Okay, I'm back, and I just want to do some blending here to give you a general idea of how to go about doing this. I'm kind of enjoying where I am at this point and feel like I should start blending colors before I move on. So I'm just going to dip my brush into the fabric medium, and let's just kind of start here on the eyebrow. I actually like to kind of get the lightest area wet first. Start getting a fair amount of fabric medium. You can see I've got quite a bit. Most of the color that I'm coloring over here is watercolor. You'll see it doesn't get quite as intensely colored as Inktense pencils do, and that is because they are watercolors. That's the point. They don't have nearly the intensity of color as do Inktense, simply because they're more of a pigment with a binder, whereas Inktense is actually pure ink that's dried, and the fabric medium acts as a catalyst to set it off. So you can see that I just kind of blended that in. Now, if you're not necessarily happy with that, and I'm going to put in maybe a little bit more light here first, just kind of come in where, down here at the bottom, a little bit more light, and then I really want to get some of my darker color into this area right here along the stitch line. So all I'm going to do is just kind of run my pencil as close into those corners without getting out as I can, just a tiny bit. You'll notice it's not a lot. By the way, this is going to be primarily what you're going to do throughout the entire fox. So that's why I'm making these short little clips, because ultimately I want you to basically use these techniques throughout. So as you can see, I'm just coming in with the paintbrush. I'm kind of holding it at a weird angle so I can make sure I get this. But I'm pushing my bristles into the stitching so I can get that completely. Let me back up. There you go. And now you can see that everything is deepened like I wanted it. Now I'm just going to continue here around the eye, just where I've put in the burnt orange or whatever the watercolor equivalent is, if that's what you're using. This that I'm using right here is burnt orange, which is an Inktense color. And you can see how fast it actually, gets colored really quick relative to, say, the watercolors. But the point of the Fox is to start mixing these mediums together, because as nice as I like Inktense pencils, it is sometimes very hard to get a very pale color. For instance, if you look at this area in the nose and everything, this was done with Faber-Castell color number 250. There's nothing that Inktense has that I could have used to get that kind of light color down the stripe around his nose. Likewise, if I do that, and let me just kind of wash my brush off here, and as always, make sure you get all the water off before you go on. And let me just show you how nice and light this looks when I start covering it. You can just barely, it's like a cream. And that's all I wanted, but there would have been nothing in the Inktense pencils that would have given me anything close to this very pale, just slight bit of color that I wanted down this little stripe on his nose. So it's one of the reasons why I like to mix the two mediums together, the intense color of the Inktense pencils, and then using watercolor. And don't be worried if you get a tiny bit of color. I can see a little bit from here coming over. That actually kind of enhances it. I don't mind that. Likewise, you can start pulling the fabric medium and blending it. Try not to go back after you've gone in a dark area into that light area, and I'm actually just going to go ahead and do the center of his nose. And you can see here, this is watercolor. Notice again, it blends really well, but the color doesn't change as dramatically as it does when you do Inktense. So let's go back to that again so that you can see that over here. If I come back in, you'll see how very vivid and orange that gets, which is why I always tell everyone, you know, color lightly first. You can always go back over the wet area once you've put fabric medium down and intensify the color. But if you start out strong with Inktense, that is precisely what you're going to get, is a very strong color. And you can do better blending if you start out light and add color later, as opposed to starting out really dark. So, oh boy, once again, I just love doing the Fox. He is my favorite. Many of you may have already heard me say that the reason I like him is because he is done in Southwest colors, and those happen to be my favorite types of colors, and hence why I think I enjoyed working on the Fox so much. So that's it right now for coloring. So I'm going to stop this. Actually, one more spot I do want to just, and you know, I play around with my fabric medium. You know, I like, if I feel like there's a really light color that I like on there, I'll take it out and kind of just blend it. And I'm going to come back in this very palish pink area and kind of overcolor. Now that was also a watercolor, but believe it or not, that was the poppy red, but I just very lightly put it on. So see, this is why I really like watercolor, is because when I want something pale, it's so much easier to do it with watercolor. And then right above it, same watercolor that I just colored fairly deep, and you can tell the difference. So see, the variations that you can get with watercolors are fantastic. Okay, so that's it for this short clip. More later. Hi everyone. Again, let's continue on our lesson about coloring the Fox. And in this particular video, we're going to discuss the ears here real quick. Again, I'm focusing on using the Inktense pencils, but as the instructions will give you, they list alternatives in watercolors that you can use as well. Okay, the very first one that I start out with is Sicilian yellow. And what I do in each one of these little ropes on the ears is I overcolor very lightly with the Sicilian yellow. Okay, after that, I pick up my burnt orange and I start just kind of in the middle and work back down. Then chili red, same thing, about a third of the way down, color in with a chili red. And then last but not least, I come along with my willow and put just a tiny bit here in the corner. So you want this to look as it's deepening as it goes from the top of the rope down to the bottom of the rope. Now, when you go to put your fabric medium on, what you're going to do is you're going to start at the top and work your way down. And you'll notice, of course, that the color immediately becomes quite strong. Let me just get another one here done. But you want to try to leave, oops, and I made a big mistake here. Always between each one of these, you're going to want to wash your brush out in order so that you don't carry too much of that orange up to the top. So again, I'm rinsing my brush out. Got a piece of napkin here that I just get rid of some of my excess color, and then proceed again with each step, and make sure you get all the water out of these brushes so that you can keep that nice clear, see, oh, look at that, look how nice that looks. Okay, so that's what you're trying to do. Now, if you want to bring the brown, the willow slightly up into the red, that's fine, but try not to drag it up here like I did. What you want is to keep this nice yellow still looking yellow as you color each one of these ropes. So again, start at the top with your fabric medium, work your way down. If you need to blend a little, come down here and blend, but try not to drag it up there. Thanks. Hi everyone, again, just a quick video on some points about the fox. We're here looking at the kind of what I call feathers along the back of his neck. And I just wanted to show you what this looks like prior to putting the fabric medium on so that you can actually tell. You're going to start out with sun yellow, and you're just going to put kind of a circular in the middle. Actually, I'm going to put a little bit more because I really like there to be a contrast. So I'm just going to put just, you know, a tidge bit more on each one of these. Then you're going to move to Sicilian yellow. And on this one, you are just going to kind of make a little circle just right around that light sun yellow that you did earlier, and you'll do that all the way up. Then carrying that same concept forward, you'll bring out your sienna gold. And again, by this time, you're getting close to the outside edges of your stitch line. So you can take it all the way if you want, but in fact, what you're going to want to do is grab your burnt orange and really, and I like to keep a sharp point when I'm working any of these along the stitch line, because you really want to get that color really strongly into the stitch line and get rid of any gaps. Just like I'm doing here, you know, coming in and really filling that in. Even maybe a little up here at the top where these points are, you know, put lots of color in, because then what you're going to do is you're going to take that same burnt orange and you're going to come along and start coloring the whole part of the upper feather. Okay, once you've done that, you're going to move on to baked earth, and you're going to start coloring really deep down into the bottom points with baked earth. And again, just like we did earlier, get a lot of good coverage, because I like this color to be fairly strong in this area. So, okay, if you see I'm getting all the little leftovers, I kind of left these blank intentionally so you could see this. And then last but not least, you're going to grab your chili red, and you're going to come up here to the tips, and you're going to color them. I like a really good intense look, about just the upper quarter, about a quarter of an inch actually on most of these, and maybe just a little less up here as these tips start to fade out. Okay, once you've done that, of course, then grab your paintbrush, and let me grab one from over here out of my pan. I'm just going to pull out this. This is not really what I want. I wanted that shaper that many of you got in the full kits, the one that's kind of tapered up at the top rather than square, but this one will work. And you're going to dip it in your fabric medium, and you're going to start down here, and you're just going to start spreading it. Oops, I got a little outside the line. Time for the boo-boo pin. So, and from there, I'm going to work straight into the dark. Again, making that movement upwards, and by the time I get up here, try not to go back down into yellow. You want to keep that really strong yellow color. And again, just work that fabric medium up the top. If you want, continue up to the darker color if you want to. Spread that out. But again, don't, unless you're just kind of running it along the sides, try to make sure that all of the red and orange are gone before you bring it down the yellow. Get your brush maybe a little damp, wet it, clean it, whatever. But once you feel comfortable that there's no more orange, come back in then and start the yellow. In fact, if you want, just kind of do all your yellows first, get them wet. As you see, I'm just kind of moving and put a little bit up there. You can do it pretty quickly. Once you've done that, then come back in and spread that deeper orange and red together and blend it really well. And you can see, oh, this looks so good. It looks just like my fox in my quilt. So there you have it. And that's another short video. Again, we'll try to be posting all these together once I'm done. Thank you. Hi everyone, just another quick blurb about the feet. And I wanted to point out how they looked prior to putting on the fabric medium. So let's just focus down here. This is Willow, which is the color that's here in the center. I'll just put a tiny bit more in each one of those centers. What you want is to make this look like the light is shining down on his paws. And so this would be a lighter looking area than the subsequent area that ends up getting towards the creases of his paws, or in this particular case, the stitch line. And real quick, let me bring over the bark. So you can tell that right next to the stitch line, I want it darker on both of these. I'm just going to kind of color over it here real quick. And then lighter version down here, again, to kind of give a sense of depth. This is something that, as I move forward and teach more intermediate classes, we'll spend a little bit more time on coloring theory as opposed to just how to color something, because I think it's important for people to understand why things look good a certain way as a result of how you color something. Okay, with that, I'm going to pull over, actually I'm going to pull over a smaller brush. I've noticed that I've been making a few mistakes, so I've got a little bit smaller brush for this. And again, I want to start in the middle and kind of work my way out. And I'm just kind of making circular motions because I do want this all to blend. Oh yeah, there we go. That looks great. So again, you get that sense of, and if you bring some of the darker up into it, that's okay. It kind of allows the colors to blend a little bit better and look more like what I had in mind for the paw. And then you can just carry this right on over to the other ones. Again, you know, rub your brush right up against there. You want that dark to really show up as dark. Again, I apologize for my thumb being kind of the main focal point there. It's kind of hard to do this and film at the same time, but I really wanted to try to get these close-ups for you guys so that you could see this firsthand for some of you who will not be attending class. So if you'll notice, again, blend, 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 you know, lots of circular motions. But even though I'm blending, you'll notice though that the color, the lighter color remains intact. I'm going to get a little bit more fabric medium and come in here and blend some more. And so the darker areas, the paw that's kind of the toe, so to speak, of the paw that is not getting direct light would obviously be darker looking. Again, get into those crevices. I can't stress that enough. You want this to look professional. Make sure there's no white showing and push that color right into there. But if I sit back, you can tell that this one's obviously darker than this one right here. Now, if you're not happy with that, you know, if you want it just maybe that's a little bit too much contrast, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to lay the pencil down so you can see what I'm doing here. Sorry about that. Just lay it down, oops, right there. okay? And I'm just gonna brush the tip with a wet brush, get a little bit of color, and then come in here. Oh, there, that's perfect. So see, all I did was just add a tiny bit of color by just bringing a bit of the color from the bark color and deepening up that willow color, but still getting that same highlight, just not that strong of contrast. So I hope this helps, and stay tuned for the next part. Thanks. A quick tip on this swirl. The instructions are going to sound a little bit weird, but I wanted to explain what I did. The overall color underneath here is the apple green, which is this very light version. Then at both tips, and I'm calling this a tip and this a tip, I come in and just put, a little bit of field green just at the very tips just to darken them. Then I grab my, I'm actually going to do this real quick so that you can see it, sorry. I color over the bottom half with the green aquamarine. And I only want to do the bottom half because I really want it to look fairly light in through here as if the light were shining on this. And then last but not least, the instructions call for overall the left tip, and I'm calling this, as opposed to this is the right tip and this is the left tip, I'm coming in and really darkening that final tip with the blue aquamarine. I actually am maybe going to come down a little further with this. I like the contrast of the blue against the green aquamarine. And when this gets blended, actually I'm going to put a little bit right here against the stitch line so we can darken that up. I really want that to look dark. Okay, and then, so then what I'm going to do is I'll get my fabric medium, come in and actually start up here at the top, work that medium, try to do maybe the light first, and if you drag a bit of the darker green into there, that's okay. But as you're going to come down here, you're going to want to try to keep that lighter green, the apple green, really prominent. Don't overcolor it. But once you do, then work back into the other colors and scrub them good and try to get them very blended. This really looks good when it's all finally blended. And then what you're going to do is to kind of give it again the same glimmer effect. This one doesn't have any rhinestones, so go ahead and once this is dry, coat it over with the pearlescent like you see down here to give it that shimmer. So once again, thanks for watching and stay tuned for the next part. We're probably moving on. I'm going to finish coloring these. I think these are pretty self-explanatory, but the next thing we're going to do is the tail. And when you do the tail, what you're going to want to do is start up here at the top and work your way down to the bottom of the tail, because you don't want your hand dragging through your color if you're to work this way. There's a lot of vivid colors in through here, and you don't want to smear those. So always, again, with the tail, you're going to want to start at the top and work your way down. The last part that we'll get done, and I'll probably do a quick video on it, is what I call the back leg and paw. The paws actually are done no different than the paws are done here, but again, another quick lesson. There'll be a lot of blending in through here, so that will really be the focus of the last lesson. But again, I'll do a quickie on the tail as we move down these colors and this, and that should do it. Thanks. Hi everyone, I'm back with the final video on coloring the fox. I just want to talk about the background. The background is kind of all over the fox. I'm pointing to it here, here, kind of up, basically up around his eye. This is what I feel like is the main part of the coloring of the fox, which of course I actually keep fairly true to the natural color of a fox. And it starts out with a bottom layer of burnt orange, and I'm just going to kind of come in here and do this right here. You'll notice it's just a medium average pressure. It's not necessarily heavy, it's not necessarily light, but just kind of getting good coverage all over with the burnt orange. Try to make it as even as possible, but if you don't, here's the next trick to this, and that is once you finish that area, now you're going to pick up baked earth. And over the areas that you've already colored, you're going to come in and do a little bit darker version of baked earth. Again, try to get it in all around the stitched area and just color over it. Let me just do this one little section here, and then we'll come in and show you what then to do with the fabric medium. So that's nice and colored. And then I'm just going to come in with my brush, get a little bit of fabric medium on here, and I'm going to zoom in here and just swirl it and try to blend the two colors really, really well. If you start to notice that you're getting more of a yellowish tint than you are the more orange, let me just get this up into the crevice here, then come back in with both colors and set my brush down here, sorry. And then if you'll come back in specifically, I think with burnt orange, it will give you kind of, this one's already dry. You can tell it's a definite, much more orangey color. So play around with these two. You do want to try to have a consistent background throughout the fox so that you can tell what the background is. He's so full of detail sometimes, I think it's hard to tell what the background is and what the rest of all of these various different designs are. But in any event, you do want to have a consistent coloring throughout the background. And get again right up, I can't stress enough with the fabric medium how you're going to want to get all of this right into those crevices so that the color is pretty much consistent across the fox in general. You don't want any of that white showing. You want to make this look as full and complete as possible. So there you have it. He's almost done. You just are going to follow the instructions. The feet or the back foot is done very similar as what we did in the front. The medallions and the feathers are done similar to the way the medallion was done here. These swirls, actually I go into detail in the instructions on how to color them. And this leaf right down here is done exactly as this leaf. The darker swirls, you will want to follow the instructions there, as try to keep them as dark as possible for contrast. And that will be just about it for coloring the fox. I will be merging all of these little pieces together. You'll hear me stop and start during the one single. So again, know that that is how I do this. In the future, perhaps I can do one single video, but the fox is the most difficult of all the ones to color. So I did want to break him up into pieces so that you could stop and start this as I did. Good luck on coloring the fox and enjoy. Thank you. Hi everyone. Again, just more tips and tricks. I'm lightening up what I'm doing here on this particular section of the fox by using a straight pearlescent to kind of lighten this up and of course add that ever popular kind of shimmer that we all seem to like with these animals. So again, just wanted to show you what happens when you use straight pearlescent. It actually came out pretty nice. So I'm going to actually just dip my brush in it again. And this side I have not yet put any fabric medium on, but let's just see what this does. Ah, yes. So it's another way. This is just a straight extender. It's from Pro Chemical. It is their pearlescent straight run. It's a fabric medium, but it's got pearlescence in it. It's called an extender. And as you can see, it really gives a really nice bling, and it lightened things up quite a bit. I didn't realize when I was doing this, and let me just give you kind of a demo. I'm using now just plain fabric medium, and you can see how much darker it is when it goes on with just plain fabric medium as opposed to putting the pearlescent extender. So there you have it. There's another trick on how to lighten things up. If you have pearlescent paint, particularly a clear or a silver, you can actually apply this over. But again, I prefer to use the pearlescent extender by Prochem to put this on and lighten up. And as soon as I finish the video, I'm going to go back with that spot that I did with the regular fabric medium and put the rest of it around there so it'll lighten that up. There you have it. Thanks. Hey everyone, just another quick video on the Fox. We've gotten down to the medallion. Yay! I know this is one of the most complicated ones that we have, and so that's why all these little short videos, because I really do want to walk through how to color. So here, let me show you what I've done here, and again I'm explaining what should be in the instructions, but I do want to cover this. Before I put down the green aquamarine, I actually used this apple green, and I laid a very light color over all of this first, so you can kind of see it in the background. And then I came along with the green aquamarine and I colored lightly. I don't want to necessarily disguise the fact that I used the green underneath, but I wanted to kind of blend these two together. And then last but not least, I chose the dark aquamarine to kind of go around and give it some outline along the stitching, because I really like the combination of all three of these together. So once you've done that, you're going to go ahead and take your brush and dip it in the fabric medium and just start working these, and you'll see right away it gives you a really nice blended effect of all three colors. So just kind of swish your brush around, work those back and forth. Try not to get into this green. I haven't done this yet. I really wanted to jump ahead and do this before I started coloring. What I should have done, however, to be honest with you, to do this properly, I should have gone ahead and put the fabric medium on the lightest, then the second lightest. I've already done these yellows and let them dry. So as you work, you should always put your fabric medium on your lightest, then your, say, next to lightest area, let them dry, so that if you get a little bit in there, you can kind of actually rub it away, and this will not bleed into this, or at least that's the theory. So there you have it. I'm going to continue blending this and you know, keep you posted as we go along with finishing the Fox. Thanks for watching. Hi everyone, just another quick point here on the Fox. I wanted to point out how I have colored the swirls up at the top. Notice, by the way, I've already put my fabric medium down on all these areas. I have not done it there, which is aquamarine, nor the aquamarine up here, but I did put it down here and also in these lighter areas as we discussed earlier. I do want to make sure that all that is dry. I've given it well over 30 minutes, and I'm touching it, I'm rubbing it, there's nothing actually coming off. So I just wanted to do this real quick with you to show you when you do go to color these. I actually like to start in the center. The center color is, and these are kind of hard to tell the difference. I'm using them only because they are a part of some of the other kits. But this first one that I'm coloring is actually green aquamarine. And this one right here is actually dark aquamarine. So what I'm gonna do here is if you'll see, I colored it very lightly. Really looks good. I do like this color. So we'll just do half of this, and then we'll go over here to the dark aquamarine so we can see what difference there is. I mean, I can see a bit of a green here. I guess I shouldn't Shouldn't say there isn't any color difference. It's just sometimes it's hard to see. Okay, so now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to come over here to the dark aquamarine, work from the bottom up, and yeah, I guess there is quite a bit of difference actually when you come to color it on like this. And just scrubbing a bit. You know, I started with the dark end and working my way up, scrubbing those edges that, you know, I put a lot of extra color there because I wanted my edges as dark as possible. You don't want to see any white fabric peeking through as you're coloring this. So, ooh, as I did before when I colored this, I'm falling in love with this fox all over again. He is my favorite. I have to admit it. He's just such an adorable fox. He's a guy. This is one of my few guy animals gone zen. The rest of them are definitely girls because, like I said before, you know, you look at the camel, and no guy would ever put bling on his toes like my camel had. So it has to be a girl. The paws on the fox here is actually going to be definitely the normal color that any self-respecting male fox would have. Okay, there you go. You can see the difference between the two, so that's good to see. So when you color this, you'll be lightly coloring with the green aquamarine, and then when you do the blue, you'll start out light, you'll work your way down, and you'll get darker, a little heavier handed as you get down towards the bottom, and then just be sure to outline all of the black with the darker, you know, kind of heavier pressure on the dark aquamarine, and you'll see what it looks like when you put the fabric media on. Okay, thanks again for watching. Okay, so a quickie on the red feathers, which you see here, which is made up, you start out coloring first with poppy red, then the middle section, middle third, you color with chili red, and then this is Shiraz here at the tips. And I have already got fabric medium up here and down here, but I just want to show you real quick how to put the fabric medium on with this. This is actually going to show up in several different places here, and I believe in through this section, oh, actually right up in here. So the same coloring process will be used throughout the fox in other places. So I just want you to go ahead and see, this is actually fairly easy to do. I start with the lighter color at the base, which is the poppy red, and I work up into, but not quite to the Shiraz. But I am going over the poppy red and the and notice, you know, I'm not getting a ton, just about half of my brush is wet, and just, you know, going in kind of one direction towards the top. And once I get that, and I kind of rub my brush along the edge here just to make sure that all of the little white areas for around the stitching is colored. Okay, once I've done that, then you want to work from the other direction and come down from the top down into the chili. Just making sure that you blend all of that Shiraz into the chili red. And that's how you do it. So whenever you're going to see this color combination again, it's down here, it's over here, it's in these areas, and in this like large area right here, you'll be doing the same process to color. Thanks. Hey everyone, quick video on coloring the fox's legs. They are numbered, and I'm going to kind of show you what I meant by numbering when there's two numbers together in one of these scales. If you'll look right here, I've already kind of started out with the chili red, and then I've moved to poppy red, and now I've got burnt orange. And so you'll notice that half of the scale was covered in the red, and now I'm just going to come along, and I'm not being super perfect about this, just kind of blending the colors in so that they create kind of a domino effect as it moves down the leg. So that is kind of where burnt orange should go. The next color after that is tangerine and burnt orange. Again, just kind of coming down. I'm being sloppy. This is on purpose. Don't want to be perfect with this stuff. It actually looks better if you kind of make it a little sloppy like this. And we'll look at blending here in just a minute. And then I'm going to grab my sienna gold, which is the next one after that. Now, as you move down the leg, the color is obviously getting lighter. And we're going to now kind of move into the sun yellow, and this one is kind of makes up the bulk of the color, at least until you get down to, oops, this is Sicilian yellow. I've got one more. Okay, that's Sicilian yellow, and then I'm going to grab, where did my sun yellow go? Hang on, I seem to have misplaced my sun yellow. So I'm actually going to grab one of my watercolors. It's basically the same color for the sake of this video. And you'll notice by the time that I start getting down here, it fades very, very, and I'm leaving the rest of the scales open because I'm actually going to use pearlescent. However, in the meantime, to show you how I go about spreading this, I'm just going to dip my brush into the fabric medium, and you'll notice I'm not being careful. I'm just dragging all the color down together, and where there's white spots, I just kind of rub and blend going forward and going down. So it will give you the same effect. You just have to kind of work the color and work it, of course, up right against that stitch line, as we've talked about. Keep those stitch line areas colored as well, and when you see a little color like that, you just kind of rub your color in. So that is how you color the leg. And like I said, when you get down here, you'll be using pure pearlescent or just fabric medium with pearlescent in it to kind of cover and give a little bit of bling to the leg. And then this section is the red, similar to what you've done up here. And then each one of the paws is going to be just willow and bark as set forth in the instructions. By the way, once again, want to point out, this is done with very light tan. Notice how light it is, with an outline edge of Sicilian yellow. So this is, when I say how to color along the outside edge, all I want you to do is just darken the very edges where the stitch line is, so it gives it some depth. Okay, thanks. Okay, everyone, I'm back. Just to finish up the leg, I do want to show you how I apply the pearlescence. This is just the cap of the pearlescence, and I'm going to work kind of from the bottom and work upwards so that you can see this as it goes on. And if you'll look very close, you'll see, yes, there's that sparkle we all love. And I'm just working it up towards the yellow. If I get a little mixed in, see, like right there, no biggie. That's actually what I want. Also bear in mind that all of the scales on the legs, they're going to be covered up with bling. So you don't want to be super perfect with this. You just want to actually get enough down there so that it looks good. And, you know, if you're really feeling spunky, you can go ahead and carry this all the way up into the coloring. I think maybe it might be a bit overkill because you're going to again cover it up with bling, but I do want to show you that you can do this and how good it looks. So there you go. Thanks. Hi everyone. I'm back with the final video on coloring the fox. I just want to talk about the background. The background is kind of all over the fox. I'm pointing to it here, here, kind of up, basically up around his eye. This is what I feel like is the main part of the coloring of the fox, which of course I actually keep fairly true to the natural color of a fox. And it starts out with a bottom layer of burnt orange, and I'm just going to kind of come in here and do this right here. You'll notice it's just a medium average pressure. It's not necessarily heavy, it's not necessarily light, but just kind of getting good coverage all over with the burnt orange. Try to make it as even as possible, but if you don't, here's the next trick to this, and that is once you finish that area, now you're going to pick up baked earth. And over the areas that you've already colored, you're going to come in and do a little bit darker version of baked earth. Again, try to get it in all around the stitched area and just color over it. Let me just do this one little section here, and then we'll come in and show you what then to do with the fabric medium. So that's nice and colored. And then I'm just going to come in with my brush, get a little bit of fabric medium on here, and I'm going to zoom in here and just swirl it and try to blend the two colors really, really well. If you start to notice that you're getting more of a yellowish tint than you are the more orange, let me just get this up into the crevice here. Then come back in with both colors and set my brush down here, sorry. And then if you'll come back in specifically, I think with burnt orange, it will give you kind of, this one's already dry. You can tell it's a definite, much more orangey color. So play around with these two. You do want to try to have a consistent background throughout the fox so that you can tell what the background is. He's so full of detail sometimes, I think it's hard to tell what the background is and what the rest of all of these various different designs are. But in any event, you do want to have a consistent coloring throughout the background, and get again right up. I can't stress enough with the fabric medium how you're going to want to get all of this right into those crevices so that the color is pretty much consistent across the fox in general. You don't want any of that white showing. You want to make this look as full and complete as possible. So there you have it. He's almost done. You just are going to follow the instructions. The feet or the back foot is done very similar as what we did in the front. The medallions and the feathers are done similar to the way the medallion was done here. These swirls, actually I go into detail in the instructions on how to color them. And this leaf right down here is done exactly as this leaf. The darker swirls, you will want to follow the instructions there, as try to keep them as dark as possible for contrast. And that will be just about it for coloring the fox. I will be merging all of these little pieces together. You'll hear me stop and start during the one single. So again, know that that is how I do this. In the future, perhaps I can do one single video, but the fox is the most difficult of all the ones to color. So I did want to break him up into pieces so that you could stop and start this as I did. Good luck on coloring the fox, and enjoy. Thank you.